WCBI News at 10 starts now.
Thanks for staying up with us tonight. A political battle could be brewing over the way the federal CARES Act money gets divvied up. The Governor Tate Reeves says that's not what he wants. The legislature has been called back to Jackson tomorrow, more than 2 weeks earlier than planned. Courtney Ann Jackson has the latest from the Capitol.
Governor Tate Reeves believes he has the authority for determining how to distribute the federal CARES Act money. For Mississippi, it's $1.25 billion.
This money has been appropriated by the federal government, and it is to be executed under Mississippi law by the governor.
But there are apparent questions about whether the money should instead go through the legislative appropriations process. Legislators I've spoken with say they expect the question of authority to be the sole focus of their return Friday. Here's what Reeves said when asked about the issue Thursday.
I don't really give a damn who is in charge of this money. What I care about is the people who need it, and they need it now. We can't develop a system where the people who need the money cannot quickly access it. We cannot have a system that is not carefully constructed.
Reeves argues a change to the law would alter the way the state handles distribution of all federal dollars in times of disaster.
Every time there's a tornado, we'll be calling a special session of the legislature. Every single time there is a hurricane, we'll be calling a special session of the legislature. If the virus comes back in the fall, we'll be calling a special session of the legislature.
Neither Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann nor Speaker Philip Gunn have returned requests for comment, but plan to hold a media availability Friday morning ahead of the legislature reconvening.
The bottom line is we can't allow politics and bureaucracy to cost Mississippians the money that they so badly need, and they so badly need it quickly.
Courtney Ann Jackson, WCBI News.
Now, in case you aren't worried about the politics of it all, remember, these are the federal dollars that could be flowing to you, your schools, and communities. Well, the middle of an international health crisis is no time to drop your health insurance, but that is just what's happening to some Mississippians. Tupelo's G-Force insurance team helps many clients get insurance through healthcare.gov, which is the site for the Affordable Care Act. The government provides tax credits based on a person's income and household size to help pay for the premiums. But many clients are losing their tax credit even after submitting required paperwork. For some, that means a huge out-of-pocket expense if they want to keep their health insurance.
The premium that they were used to paying, whether it be $10 or $15, some cases more than that, has now quadrupled in some cases. We have one client whose premium was $40 a month. He lost his tax credit, and now his premium is over $2,000 a month. Yeah.
Johnson says what makes it worse is that many people are also out of work right now. Well, the coronavirus has put many businesses on hold. This includes hair and nail salons. Our Bobby Martinez talks with business owners to find out how they're planning for reopening when they get the go-ahead.
Thing is their safety.
Customer safety will be the main focus once Aaron Weiss's nail salon reopens for business. Weiss, who owns Bell's Nail Bar in Starkville, says he has a plan in place to keep everyone safe once the nail salon is able to open.
When they come in, they have to use hand sanitizer. Then we make them wash their hands for 30 seconds, at least with antibacterial soap. Then they come and sit down. After we've sanitized all the tables and chairs and anything that they could touch, my girls wear gloves after they sanitize their hands as well.
And it is protective barriers like this that customers receive when they come to the nail salon. The customer will sit here, and the nail tech will sit here, and in between will be a protective barrier, something Weiss says is very important in making sure the nail salon stays safe.
That's kind of why we went ahead and went above and beyond and put all these extra measures in place. That way we can have them protected. Like the customers are going to be required to wear masks. All of us will wear masks, as well as gloves, including the barriers that we've put up throughout the entire salon, as well as sitting them 6 feet apart.
At Martha's Cut and Curl, Frances Stevenson says the thought of reopening her Columbus salon fills her up with joy.
I am just full of energy. I'm ready to go in there and I'm ready to get it done. I have so many clients that are in need of me, and I'm in need of them also.
Stevenson says she will make sure everyone follows all health guidelines in her salon.
We were wearing masks before. They really closed us down on March 21st, and we will continue to wear masks. We will add gloves. We sanitize doors, chairs.
As for now, all both owners can do is wait and hope that they can reopen soon. Well, tonight, one of the nation's largest beef processing plants, a Tyson food plant in Nebraska, is shutting down after workers stopped showing up over concerns about the coronavirus. It's the latest of 24 plants to close during the pandemic. CBS's Nancy Cordes is in Maryland, where there's trouble in the henhouse.
Poultry is big business in Maryland, the state's top agricultural product. But here in Salisbury, Dr. Christopher Snyder says it's also the driving force behind a coronavirus spike.
They share rides together to work. They're transported back and forth in vans. There's a lot of public transport. They don't have their own vehicles, so it's a difficult situation for them.
More than 260 poultry workers have fallen ill in Maryland, 400 in Georgia. In Virginia, workers protested outside a Purdue plant this week, demanding testing and paid time off.
We understand that they provide meals for millions of people, but lives are more important right now.
From coast to coast, about 24 meatpacking plants have had to shut down sometime in the past 2 months as workers fall ill, prompting a 25% drop in pork production capacity, 10% for beef, driving up wholesale prices even as demand shoots up too. In Southern California, Albertsons and other chains are now limiting sales of pork, chicken, and beef to discourage what they call panic buying.
Look at this lady here. She's buying, show her. Can you hold up all your chicken that you got?
Stu Leonard Jr. says chicken sales at his grocery chain outside New York are up 300% from last year, but he doesn't want to charge more.
But if your costs go up, you're not going to have any choice but to raise prices.
Yeah, you know what? You raise prices, but, everybody usually goes up a percentage.
A Starkville native who now lives in Texas is recovering from COVID-19. Ashley Brown and her family traveled to Europe in March. On the return trip, she says they stood in line for more than 5 hours to get screened by the CDC. Days later, she developed what she thought were spring allergy symptoms.
I started getting extremely tired, shortness of breath, chest being very tight. I also started getting dizzy, and then eventually I ended up losing my sense of smell and taste. That third week, I felt like I was never gonna get better. I'll just be honest with you. I remember turning to my husband and saying, I don't feel I'll ever feel better, because I couldn't get out of bed. I was sleeping 14-hour days.
Now you can hear Andrea Self's full conversation with Ashley Brown tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Mid-Morning. We have an update tonight in a story we've been following since March. Students from Oktibbeha and Lowndes County who are currently enrolled at GTEX will be allowed to stay in school next year. In March, both the Columbus Municipal and the Starkville-Oktibbeha County School Districts voted to end their contracts with GTEX, meaning students from those districts would no longer be allowed to attend the dual high school college program. And a letter to GTEX parents and faculty, Director Jill Savely writes that district superintendents, the Mississippi Department of Education, and staff from EMCC met earlier today to discuss a way forward for students currently enrolled at the school. Savely thanked parents for their active support.
Great weather this evening. We are cooling down right now, still clear across our region. And if you've been out looking back to the west on the western horizon, notice that dot right there. We can see it. Well, it just slipped out of view in Vernon. But there in Tupelo and everywhere else that you have a good view of the horizon, that is the planet Venus shining brightly tonight. Temperatures now down into the 50s, 52 already in Starkville, one of the cooler spots. We're looking at about 45 to 50 degrees. Quite chilly for the last night of April, the first morning of May, but we'll take it. No active weather for a while. So a chilly note when we start out, but look at all the sunshine in the forecast here for our Friday. That is the Columbus hour-by-hour planner. If you have a backyard, a picture-perfect day for it here, a backyard pool, that is. Not only for Friday, but for the weekend as well. We'll show you that forecast in just a few minutes.
It's been more than a decade since Lavon Brooks and Kennedy Brewer were cleared of capital murder and sexual battery charges. Their wrongful convictions are the focus of a new Netflix documentary, The Innocence Files. Brooks was accused of breaking into a Noxubee County home in September of 1990 and killing a 3-year-old girl. In May of 1992, Brewer was accused of murdering his girlfriend's 3-year-old daughter. Brooks served 16 years in prison. Brewer spent 13 years on death row. In 2008, both men were exonerated after another man, Justin Johnson, confessed to both crimes. Brooks passed away in 2018. However, Brewer still lives in Noxubee County. Well, that Netflix documentary was released earlier this month, and our Quentin Smith, he speaks exclusively with Brewer about the new series and has more on what he wants people to know or to take away from his story.
On this bright, sunny day, Kennedy Brewer takes a look into the local paper and sees he's making headlines, and it's all due to a new Netflix series called The Innocence Files. The show highlights his wrongful conviction and the fight to clear his name.
I'm glad that everybody know the truth, People have been calling me, talking about, I seen the documentary, I was crying. Before anybody even know what really had happened, I knew that I'm innocent.
The documentary gives an in-depth look at the crime and trial that sent Brewer to death row, and then ultimately his exoneration.
People do lie on people. And just like they lied on me, but a lot of people, that I was friend with, that know me, everything, they knew that I had do nothing like that.
The Innocence Project reached out to Brewer to be a part of this series, and he happily jumped on board. They spent 8 months in Noxubee County with the 49-year-old telling his story. The Brooksville man says he didn't mind opening up because he wants everyone to know his truth.
It makes me feel good because, I share, to people, that really know besides me. There's a lot more people that locked up that ain't really committed no crime or whatever. They just accused of something, and they put it out there that they done did this stuff when they ain't.
Brewer says he wants the series to bring attention to the flaws in the justice system to prevent other innocent people from going through the same exact thing that he went through.
You were wrongfully convicted in the 90s, and this is an issue that's still happening to this day. How important is it for you to share your story, to shine a light on these unfortunate situations?
When the stuff happened, mostly the person that with the person they accused of this stuff, they really put their point on like they did me. But like I said, you got to really, dig down and try to find the truth and just not just jump to conclusion over stuff.
Despite everything that's happened, Brewer says he has no ill will towards anyone, but he says he does believe Mississippi owes him and the late Levon Brooks an apology. Coming up tomorrow, we'll hear from the people who helped make the Netflix documentary about the importance of putting a series like this together. All right, we're going to send things back over to Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson with another look at our forecast. Hey there, Keith.
Hey, Scott. Tomorrow is a new month, and we will start off on a nice and dry note.
Hey, we like that. We like that.
No rain in the forecast for this weekend. Temperatures warming on up. A little bit of rain possible early next week. We'll have that full 7-day forecast next. Stay tuned.
Your WCBI First Alert AccuWeather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
Winter essentially in the books now. Let's go back and recap the snow season across the lower 48. Down here in the deep south, you see this white or the light blue, basically nothing or a little bit of a coating. So we got off easy with winter this year. You go back to the north, northeast, out to the west, all that color, numerous feet of snow, lots and lots of snow. We don't have to worry about that for a long time. We've got summer developing here. That's our time lapse from downtown Columbus with our Alpha Insurance Camera Network. Let's check out BK, our First Alert forecast. I love BK because he's just taking a snooze on that keyboard. I may be doing that here in the weather department for the next couple of days because it will be quiet. We're looking at temperatures in the upper 70s tomorrow afternoon, even warmer air back to the west. This is our future temperature forecast across the deep south here, the southeast on our Friday. As we get into Saturday, notice how we'll even warm things up more so around here, back into the 80s. So this weekend will be warm and quiet. The official tally thus far, got this from the National Weather Service in Jackson, the statewide total for Mississippi tornadoes for the month of April, 25, 17 January, 11 in February, 2 last month, but 25 in April. And in Mississippi and in Alabama, April is the busiest tornado month, climatologically speaking. So we are at peak tornado, if you will. And now as we get into May, the risk of severe weather in general and the tornado risk gets lower here as we shift it back out to the high plains and the upper Midwest. And between now and the fall, in theory, we should have lesser and lesser bouts of storms that could produce tornadoes. And across the high plains tomorrow and Saturday, that's where that little severe weather risk is going to be. So not around here. You can see we are sandwiched in between weather systems right now. Let's show you where we're headed here for the next couple of days. High pressure and firm control of our weather. Now, we get on the back side of it tomorrow. So the winds are on Saturday, rather. Tomorrow, high pressure is moving on through. The wind is much lighter. Now we're on the back side of it. There we go as we get into Saturday. So our winds start to become more southerly, and that will allow temperatures to really start to skyrocket back into the 80s here for this weekend. There will be a frontal boundary coming on down. I think it's going to stall out here before it gets here Monday. Another one comes into the picture as we get into your Tuesday. So there is a chance for some rain here on Tuesday. Considering the wet weather we've had, we don't really want to see much rain at all, and we don't really have it here in your AccuWeather 7-day forecast. So we are well above the average as far as rainfall, 15 to 20 inches above average. So not a lot of rain expected here. Certainly good news, but overall the weekend's looking good with highs in the 80s. More of the show after the break.
You're watching WCBI News at 10 with Scott Martin.
This week, we've been discussing topics that affect our older generations, such as falls and dementia. Here's Dr. Harris with tonight's Health Talk.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ashley Harris, geriatrician and chief medical officer at Baptist Memorial Hospital Golden Triangle. Tonight, we will be looking at medication safety. Medications are important therapeutic tools for living well in later life, but there are also risks that increase with age. Older adults are prescribed more medicines than others and are at increased risk of serious adverse drug events. Also, many older adults live with at least one chronic condition, have more than one provider, and many use more than one pharmacy. These issues contribute to significant gaps in patient-provider communication about medications, which can lead to improper use. It is also important to note that dietary supplements, over-the-counter medications, and herbal remedies can all interfere with prescription medications and are often overlooked. For this reason, many experts recommend a medication checkup at least annually to review all medications to determine if they are still necessary, if there is the potential for drug interactions, or to determine if dosage adjustments are needed. For many older adults, the annual Medicare wellness visit is an excellent opportunity to complete this review. The use of multiple medications is often appropriate and necessary for the treatment of chronic illness. In contrast, polypharmacy is defined as the use of excessive or unnecessary medications. Good communication with your healthcare provider can help reduce the burden of multiple medications and reduce any risk of harm. Join us next time for Health Talk with Baptist.
Mail your topic suggestions to healthtalk@wcbi.com. Health Talk has been brought to you by Baptist Memorial Hospital Golden Triangle.
Mississippi State basketball adding much-needed depth to the roster, the latest from the transfer portal, coming up next in sports.
Here's sports with Tom Ebel.
Mississippi State men's basketball has faced a mass exodus this offseason. Reggie Perry, Robert Woodard, and Nick Weatherspoon, guys that left for the NBA early. Senior Tyson Carter from this past year won't be back for the Bulldogs this upcoming year. 4 reserves from a year ago have transferred, but the Bulldogs picking up some reinforcement in the transfer portal. Louisiana grad transfer Jalen Johnson has committed to play for Ben Howland and the Bulldogs. Jeff Goodman was the first to report the news. The 6'7" forward averaged almost 16 points per game and 7 rebounds, and was named the Sun Belt Newcomer of the Year this past season. Johnson will be joined by Western Kentucky transfer Tolu Smith as players eligible for the Bulldogs in 2020, along with signees Cameron Matthews and Anderson Garcia. Woodard has maintained his eligibility, and it's possible for a return. The deadline for a player to withdraw from the NBA draft is June 6th. For the first time in nearly 75 years, Little League World Series has canceled all regional and World Series play for the rest of 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2021 Little League World Series was planned to be the 75th year celebration. That celebration has now been pushed to 2022. But some good news, NASCAR is officially coming back. Actual Cup Series racing is set to return May 17th. Darlington Raceway will host the return of NASCAR. For the first race at Darlington, there will not be qualifying and no practice sessions, and reports say the starting lineup will be set based on points. Qualifying and practices will return for the Coke 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. No fans will be in attendance, and as you see, NASCAR has been entertaining the world with eNASCAR in the absence of racing, but it'll be good to see actual tires back on the pavement coming up in just a few weeks. That's it for sports. We'll be back right after the break.
It was very nice today, low 70s, a bit breezy. Tomorrow we take down the wind a little bit. We bring up the temperature a little bit, 79 degrees. For Saturday, 83, 86 on Sunday. A gorgeous weekend. Overnight lows moderating back into the 50s tonight. Don't forget, mid to upper 40s. So a chilly night for us, but we'll warm things up here. A summer-like weekend as we start May. Our next best chance for rain, probably Tuesday and the Tuesday night, Scott. But get your plans ready to go.
And enjoy that sunshine, yes.
It's been so wet for so long. This is such a nice change of pace.
It is. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.